You may have heard some of Mike's predictions that the U.S. will be pretty much gone, according to some government inside sources, by 2025. And you might ask if that's necessary, if that has to happen. And, you know, the reason that it's beneficial for the world if the U.S. can hold it together and come back toward the ideals of freedom and mutual respect and living however you want, as long as you don't go out to take away the rights of other people. Those are wonderful ideals, whether or not they've ever been lived up to. Certainly haven't in this country or any other that I know of entirely so far, but they could be. And just having them out there as ideals is potentially inspiring to the whole world and something to strive for. So personally, I would prefer that the U.S. not only doesn't fall apart, as Mike is predicting, but that it comes back and remembers what it's about and why it's a beautiful, incredible concept that needs to be lived not only in America but all over the world, in every country, and every country needs to make itself great, which means not going and beating up other countries. It's like Yoda said in Star Wars, right? War not make one great. It doesn't. It may be necessary defensively, but most of the wars you see now are not fought defensively. They're fought to go out and try to, you know, invade somebody else, and those kind of wars definitely don't make anybody great. They cause a lot of bad stuff to happen. So what's going to determine whether the U.S., as Mike's sources say, falls apart by 2025? Well, you can see all the insanity sweeping the cities right now, and it's not just happening by chance. It's being orchestrated. It's being enhanced by negative use of weaponized frequencies from companies calling themselves private security companies. I think they're euphemistically called in probably all the big cities in the country and a lot of the rest of the world. And they're doing experiments on controlling masses of people with the same microwave technologies that Barry Trower exposed were used during World War II. Some interesting archives on Lost Arts Radio if you go back and listen to those if you have time. It's being done now, but now it's being combined with the poison in the food, the poison being injected into people, even babies, which is totally insane. And if anybody that criticizes that practice is before long going to be considered a criminal and sent to prison, there's some not very good signs about things happening, right? And we've still got this spraying, this global program of spraying going on of toxic metals and bio and chemical weapons every day over most of the world. Do you guys notice anything wrong with that picture? That would be going on? And we've been told that it's a conspiracy theory and it's really stupid and you guys just believe all this crazy stuff. Now we've got people in government saying, well, we might have to actually start spraying the sky and blocking out the sun in order to preserve life on Earth and protect against global warming and climate change. In case it gets colder, we'll call it climate change, and we'll still protect you against it by blocking out the sun so it won't reach the Earth, even though plants need it for photosynthesis to make the oxygen that you breathe, including the algae in the ocean, and even though you need it to stay healthy and have a good immune system. We think blocking out the sun is going to really make things great. They're openly saying that now, so they're shifting from the conspiracy theory to saying, well, we might have to do it just because they've been doing it heavily since the early 90s and experimentally since the 40s at least. The people in charge of virtually every country in the world now, and the people above the visible government, sometimes called the deep state, their intent is to exterminate life on the planet. I'm not sure if you noticed what they're doing or not, but it's very obvious where it's going. So the question is, as Mike said, does it have to mean the demise of not only the U.S. by 2025 or before, especially if one of these crazy people wins the presidency in the U.S., that would be a very bad thing to have happen. And it could, because a lot of the population is so unconscious they may actually support that. and they think that they're helping the environment and all this stuff. There are real environmental issues, but they're not the ones like the Paris Climate Accord is pushing and people like that. They're real ones, and there is real man-made climate change. It's mostly coming from something called geoengineering, which almost no one will talk about, although it's coming out of the conspiracy category now pretty quickly, and it'll soon be a widely promoted program by the power structure to save us from the evil sun. I mean, it's almost too insane to try to say anything about. So the question is, can it turn around? Or as Mike said, is it pretty much a done deal that by 2025 the US will be over and there probably won't be any country in the world where the principle that it's, organized around is individual freedom? Well, I think what's going to determine that is consciousness. And when you say consciousness of who, because you've got these really malevolent so-called leaders around the world that are working on destroying the whole biosphere as fast as they can, speaking of real environmental issues. But you've also got the unconscious population, and they're going along with the insane leaders and being as crazy as the leaders are. So if you choose any others, they probably continue doing the same stuff, and you've got the media, which has been called the enemy of the people, not the independent, honest media. The corporate, intentionally weaponized lying media like the mainstream corporate media in the US and Europe and other places, that is a weapon trying to keep people unconscious and in a self-destructive mode. Absolutely true. In fact, it's an understatement. So where's the possible reversal of all this? I think the people in charge, the negative power structure, has reason to be confident, which they are, because they think we're so far gone, and they've got this, you've heard of it, it's called a health system. It injects you with poison and gives you poison chemicals to eat and says that's medicine. It used to identify and have this oath from the old Dr. Hippocrates, who said, do no harm. That was his first thing. And then he said, use food for your medicine and others, wise things like that. They've deleted that oath to him, and now if they had an oath, it would be let chemicals be your food and poison be injected into your body in order to stay healthy. That would be their new oath. I don't know if that's become official yet or not, but this is why the power structure is confident, because they've instituted insanity as the normal direction of life. So how are we going to turn that around? I don't advocate doing it by force. I don't advocate preemptive force anytime, only for defense. But there's a powerful force that is not normally talked about in practical terms. And it really doesn't matter what you call it. It's hard to put words in it, but words on it to define it. But I would call it consciousness. And it's so powerful. It's the force. People call it God or Spirit or the source that we all came from. And it's in every one of us. And we're tied to it or we wouldn't exist. It's our essence. It's what we're made out of. If that becomes conscious again, even in a small critical minority of people, everything on the physical level could be turned around for the better without anybody even seeing you do anything. And it's the biggest fear of the power structure out of all of their fears. And they have a lot of fears. They're really into fears. So I would take that as guidance and say, well, that's where we should really be working. And it involves getting your physical health back, because it's much easier to do the internal, deeper part of the work if your body's not bothering you and it has lots of energy and it doesn't get sick, it's not subject to infectious diseases, it's not degenerating. That's your normal state. You're not supposed to remember that, but that's really normal. So how to get back to that has been taught for thousands of years, since before recorded history, and the things that were taught then still work now. And then you don't have to worry about the usual falling apart and feeling terrible and having no energy and not remembering who anybody is and what they call the golden years, I guess, right? That doesn't have to happen. And if it started happening, much of it is reversible, which you're also not allowed to know about. So what I'm saying, because solutions are what interests me. The only reason to know about all the terrible things going on in the world is what can you do on the healing side to counteract that. And there's a lot that you can do. In fact, you've got so much power to help change the world back to normal, that's the biggest secret that I've ever found, that the power structure is hiding from you. So I would suggest that we do that, help each other to do that. Get our health back, learn the real health information, which is all suppressed by violence in the US and most of the world now. A lot of doctors have been killed for trying to talk about little bits of it, but we need the whole picture. So I'd say get the whole picture, get your health back, stop the destructive aspect of your aging that you're told is inevitable and it's not. And then at the same time start to do the inner work of getting back in touch with who you actually are, which is not this limited, temporary, unintelligent, dependent, miserable, little fearful, thing that we're supposed to believe we are and supposed to live like that. That's not who we are at all. That's complete nonsense. So get back in touch with the real self, that it's not scared, it's not subject to fear and distress and depression and despair and all this stuff. Get in touch with the energy that's coming into you all the time from consciousness, and use that, because you've heard about the bad radiation coming out of cell towers. That's designed to be destructive to all life forms. That's why they're doing it. But that's not the only frequency that exists. In fact, there's a much, much more powerful frequency, and it's generated by you or anybody that does the work to get back in touch with it, make it coherent again, and then start to send it out to the rest of the world. It's very powerful. It's the biggest secret that I think they're hiding from us right now. It's beyond any man-made technology. And you have it, and you don't even have to pay anything for it or buy it, but you have to do the work to get back in touch with it. And if you do that, and if a few of us do that, I don't know what the critical number is. It depends how well we do it, I think. But if we get back in touch with that and do that, then Mike's prediction doesn't have to come true, which would be really a good thing. And I think Mike would be very happy for that as well. There's no satisfaction in predicting something terrible and seeing it happen. And so I know that he would be on board with us for that too. So if you want a supportive environment for exactly working on that, if you're brave enough to do the work and you want to actually know about some of these things and not be, dominated by fear and that sort of stuff, then check out planetaryhealingclub.com. If you have questions about it, just write to me, richard@lostartsradio.com, and I'll answer your questions as well as I can. I read all of those, and I won't say this is for everybody, because it's not a spectator deal. You have to do the work. We've all done a lot of damage to our bodies by making mistakes pretty much for our whole life. Some of our older people like me have been doing it for decades and decades, and you have to learn to reverse that, and there are ways to do it without willpower and stress and tension and everything, and learn how to relax really deeply all the time and do your work much more effectively with a lot more focus. So if you want to do that, there are small dues for that club, because we're not selling any products or anything. It's the cleanest way that I know to try to get the funds in to keep our operation going, and hopefully, if we can do well enough, to build a school so these things can be demonstrated in the physical world. And we have the details of the school that we'd like to build if the funds come in. So you're helping a little bit with that if you're in Planetary Healing Club. But even with that in mind, I only recommend it for people that are ready to do the work, and just to say, give up blaming everybody else and circumstances and even the power structure and whatever you want to forget the blaming, and like they say in Ho'oponopono, take 100% responsibility, because the secret is, if you do that, it puts all the power into your hands. which is a really good thing. If your motivation is to help heal the world, then the more power you can have to do that, the better, and this is a way to do it. So anyway, access point is through planetaryhealingclub.com. Questions about it before you decide whether it's good for you or not, address them to richard@lostartsradio.com. And in the meantime, you might also go to lostartsradio.com, get on our mailing list so that if we get banned everywhere, we can still get information to you if we need to. We're not using it now, but if you're on that list, then we won't be cut off, because the censorship's getting really bad, and so far the president and the government's doing nothing to stop it, and the big tech is just pushing it through. It's really quite amazing. And the other thing, if you can, is look at Brighteon.com, which is brighteon.com/channel/Lost Arts Radio. That is in fact, we were talking about Mike, that this is a non-censoring platform that he set up as an alternative to the big ones that kick you off if you say unacceptable things. It needs a lot more support. The big platforms have billions of people on them, but Brighteon is just barely being discovered and needs a lot more sharing of it. And look at our channel over there for Lost Arts Radio, brighteon.com. Write it down, /channel/Lost Arts Radio. It's a really great thing to support, and you don't have to give money, you just have to use it, and that supports them, because if more people are there, then the advertising brings in more revenue and they get to keep expanding, which is very important. And a live streaming will start on Brighteon maybe by January or so. It's going to be really great when that happens. It'll be a good addition. So the bottom line is, Mike's prediction of the US ending and this potentially great bright spot in the world disappearing could happen, or it could not happen, and a lot of it is in your hands. You have so much power. It's just a theory and a concept if you don't access it, but you have power for healing that is stronger than any nasty government anywhere, and there are ways to access it. That's what we're doing in Planetary Healing Club. But you don't even really need us if you want to do it just by yourself. Everything that you need for it is internal, and if you want to follow that route, study and get back your physical health, learn real health information. It's not supposed to be known by the public, but you can do it anyway. A couple of books that might get you started for, without having to use our club or anything, is just check out the general idea that Marcus Rothkranz puts out in Heal Yourself 101. That's totally free. In fact, both of these books, you can read them free. You don't even have to buy them, because somebody typed out both of them on PDF or on our website, lostartsradio.com. One of them is Marcus Rothkranz Heal Yourself 101. Heal Yourself 101. And you just get a search engine, not Google. Never use Google for anything, but DuckDuckGo, and type in Heal Yourself 101 PDF, and it'll come up, and you just read it for free right on your computer screen. And the other one that will start teaching you about the real health principles is the Essene Gospel of Peace, Volume 1. And again, somebody that's a hard book to find. It's almost out of print. So, it is out of print, but there's some used copies around. But you can see it like right now for free. You go into DuckDuckGo or a search engine you want to use and type in Essene, that's ESSENE, Gospel of Peace, Volume 1, PDF. Enter, and that just comes up for free. It's a great resource. Those two books will get you started to learn about the principles of real health information that you are not supposed to know. And there's much, much more after that. These are all things that you can do. You don't need an expert. You don't need some authority figure to do it for you. You have to take the responsibility to start regenerating your own body, reversing your own aging or sickness that's really bad, make it better, and learn the internal work. And that's what we're doing at Planetary Healing Club. But anybody who can do it, you've got it all inside you. and get in touch with it, see what you can find out. We'll help you if you want. LostArtsRadio.com, we have our Sunday show still going on. Inspiring guests, and there's a lot more of those coming up every Sunday. And you keep in touch with that at LostArtsRadio.com. And then on Saturday afternoons, we have Lost Arts Radio Live. That's got a lot of interesting stuff on it too. That's 4:30 Pacific on Saturday afternoons, 7:30 Eastern. And then the Sunday show is at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern on Sunday. And the Planetary Healing Club meets on Saturday, 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern, every Saturday. And if you're in a part of the world where that makes a really difficult time for you, like the middle of the night or something, all the members get all the archives, and then you can watch the archives when it's comfortable, and give me your feedback by email, richard@lostartsradio.com, and I'll write back to you. I still have time. We're small enough to do that. And the last thing that I'd mention is, as I said, we're not pushing products. You might have noticed that. No commercials, right? Which means we have no money. So we're not even at survival level yet. If you want to help us stay on the air and keep this project going, and ultimately build a school, which is one of our goal projects, we have a page at subscribestar.com, subscribe.com/LostArtsRadio, and you can go there if you have, not if you're having a really hard time for money, but if you've got money to help good things, go there and please support us. We would really appreciate it. And if you have large amounts of money, talk to me or do it through Subscribestar. Get in touch with me, richard@lostartsradio.com, if you want to support us on a larger scale and get our school built. Because if we had the money, we know how to build that school starting today. We'd be out there doing it. And it would be unlike any school you've ever heard of on the planet, as far as I'm aware of. It would be like transplanted Essene wisdom that was being taught at the time of Jesus that never made it into the Bible, adapted to modern conditions and the assaults that we're all under, and taught right on the physical level in the U.S., but by the internet, as long as we have it, to everywhere else on Earth too, and then people could come there. And it's an amazing project. If you want to see part of it, one possible configuration is described on lostartsresearchinstitute.org, which is our nonprofit, and you're welcome to go there. And if you have questions about it, just let me know. I'd like to hear your feedback on it, get your ideas, and maybe find some people that would help us make it happen. That would be great. So if it's meant to go, it will, and if it's not, then we'll just keep doing as much as we can online like we're doing now. And you can help us keep doing that on subscribestar.com/LostArtsRadio, and join Planetary Healing Club, which some of those go together. You can read donation levels on subscribestar.com, and some of those include free membership in the Planetary Healing Club. So I think I remembered everything. This is no teleprompters, no script. I have no notes. See, nothing up. I don't have any sleeves, nothing up my sleeve. So I hope I remembered everything. And the main point is just Mike's predictions are valid, but they don't have to happen. And a lot of it, whether they do it or not, is up to you. Become aware and use the power you've got for something good. And thank you for what you're doing already. Really nice to be with you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. See you in a while.